We're talking mock draft. It's shaping up to be a heavy offensive draft, or at least it may seem. Do the Chiefs need to target some left tackles? The Chiefs are unsure about Sneed. Do they look for a potential player to play his role? Chiefs may look to finalize the linebacker room in the draft, or perhaps bring in a veteran. Is linebacker an important target position for the Chiefs? Find out now. This is Gridiron Gambit.
Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Let's work. Hey.
Welcome to this edition of Gridiron Gambit. I am your host, Clinton, and for this quad box edition, we got the full crew in. We got Rod, we got Dale, we got Lonnie. How y'all doing this evening? One at a time. Try to pace this out. Who goes first?
Everything good. Everything good. Ready for this draft.
That's right.
You got it, man. All right, I got it. Hey, I'm doing good, bro. Just having a good time. I can't wait to discuss these topics and get into it.
Yep, same here. Good. All good on the home front.
Well, that's right. Well, we got a lot to discuss, and most of it has to do with the latest Substack article that Rod put out today as we're recording this, yesterday by the time this video podcast is released. So make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. If you prefer your audio podcast, you can catch us on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. Really trying to grow our YouTube channel. We're very close to 100 subscribers. So if you want to help us get there, that would be very huge of us. And also subscribe to our Substack. As I just mentioned, we're going to be discussing a lot of topics related to Rod's latest article in the Chef Veach series that we got going on. Obviously, we're going to try to dance around it and not spoil too much. But if you want to know the full details and the source material that may or may not get referenced in this podcast, make sure to go check out that article on Substack. It really means a lot for you guys to go check that out. So first off, according at least to Rod's mock draft, it's shaping up to be a very offensive heavy draft, with 4 offensive players taken in the first 4 picks, including a trade up. So Rod, give us your thoughts. Why do you believe the Chiefs may end up hitting the well on offense several times early on in this draft?
As I was looking through it, it was hard to pass up on certain players. And it just shaped up how the draft shaped up, very early, knowing that we do have might have a little bit of pieces to fill in, but it was certain players that I've seen that might be pretty high on Veach board. That he probably looked like I can't pass him up, especially in the 3rd round. I can't pass this guy up. So it shaped out to be a pretty heavy offensive drive.
Okay. The only thing that makes me counterpoint that whole thinking is placing these arbitrary things that need to be met for a draft pick for the Chiefs. It's clear that this offseason, arguably, other than the the Hollywood Brown signing, the defensive players have just been retained that we already have. So we obviously are going to discuss the departure of Willie Gay, but I don't think we can neglect defense as a unit in the draft. So I don't want to pigeonhole the Chiefs into selecting certain positions in certain parts of the draft because of just some arbitrary value that is held. If the Chiefs have a really good safety or linebacker or defensive tackle that they really like and they think is like a pillar type player, I don't want them to be swayed away from making that kind of selection, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. It is like that makes a lot of sense. And to me, there was some good defensive guys that was choosing. It was like kind of hard. Like, this is a real generational talent of a guy. Put him in this offense with Mahomes. It's not just a great asset for this year, but also for years to come that would extend the legacy in the window of Super Bowl opportunities for Mahomes. So yeah, I do. But also I do agree with the defensive help. It still needs to be keep filtering in, even though those guys might end up being backups. But it's still good to have those good pieces. Under the good wing of our great coaches. On the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
I mean, I'm not too far against the offense and Veach doing it though, and being offensive heavy, just because I feel like in the previous years, like in the first with George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, he went straight defense to first round with those two picks that he had. So I just think it is possible, and it's like, okay, I think I handled what I needed to on the defense side of the ball because pretty much everybody is locked up, and you run back some guys you retain as well too. I mean, we'll talk about Willie Gay later a little bit about that, but I mean, at the same time, it's like, really, I feel comfortable with that unit. And the unit that we're uncomfortable with right now is, ironically, the offense with the weapons that we do need. Left tackle, maybe a receiver. So it's like, okay, I mean, if you wanted to do that, I see it because we still got around like 7 picks. So you still can do stuff in the back end as well too. And you can go look at Rod draft as well too. I mean, he pretty much did that. So
right. So what would you say then to the Chiefs fans who are saying, it's pick 32 if there's the 6th or 7th best wide receiver? And spoiler alert, a lot of mock drafts, including Rod's, has wide receiver being the first player type selected at the end of the first round. Do you guys feel that the quote, the position and need of a wide receiver is going to trump the second best safety on the board or defensive tackle on the board or linebacker on the board? Because in Rod's mock draft, obviously, much like a lot of other people, they've got picking wide receiver at the end of the first. If that player is like the class, second best linebacker, second best defensive tackle, would that irritate some people, or would you trust the process and believe that if that player was taken here, then the Chiefs just couldn't pass up the value that they saw?
I think looking at the strength and weaknesses in this draft class, I really think that if they do have the ability to have that, if everything shapes down to you have a choice at getting, either the 6th best wide receiver or the number 2 linebacker or that is the number 2 defensive tackle, that defensive tackle is looking, it's leaving room to question, like, I can have a cheaper asset when Chris Jones' contract is up, so I'm pretty much replacing him before his contract is up, which then that will lead to, this will be the 3rd draft in a row that you go defense in the first round. And so, especially being on a very loaded defensive line, now you're looking at, is he getting that playing time? That's the same thing that Felix went into. So to me, I feel like, it's just ironic that the need right now is wide receiver, and this is probably a once in a 10-year span that you have the opportunity to recycle that wide receiver room to get young, talented, pretty much a getting in ahead of the curve of this new age of offensive guys that's coming into the league.
Yeah, I feel that. Lonnie, Dale, you have anything else you guys want to point out?
I like I told you guys before, I trust Veach just with whatever decision he decides to make down there at 32. I know he doesn't have a lot of choices, just period, point blank. But if whether it be a number 2 linebacker, whether it be a number 6 wide receiver, whether it be a DN, I think talent surpasses everything. Um, no matter need, no matter what it is, you're going to take talent, the best available. If that guy is a generational type talent, but if it's not any generational or game changer type talents down there at 32, which is usually not, they probably just stick to the plan and go wide receiver. Because the Chiefs are known to fix blaring needs within the team, within the draft. Just like you said, they went on defense when our defense was horrible. We didn't have, we was looking for a corner, looking for a defensive end, getting rid of Frank Clark. Absolutely, they went first 2 rounds, got a corner, got a defensive end. So I think they go based off how the team looks and what they think they need and what is important. The way they sign these free agents, all the people that they retained, I think they go offense.
All right, I feel you. So that transitions into, well, Rod's day 2 first pick in the second round. Chose to go offensive tackle. The arguably second biggest need, if wide receiver is the highest, is a left tackle that people feel like is a pillar. You could set it there and it's set long term. We know the status of Jawan Taylor. We know that his contract for all of next season was 100% guaranteed. So obviously the Chiefs still find value in Jawan and the contract that he's playing at for the right tackle spot. So with the Chiefs still needing that left tackle positions squared away, Rod, it's fair to say that you think that the Chiefs will be potentially targeting, if not the day 1 starter at left tackle, what is set to be the number 1 contender for the starting left tackle spot.
Yeah, 'cause, I think when we look at the season, what Wanye Morris went through, I think he has a legit, chance of being that starting left tackle. Especially when you look at price wise, yes, that's a cheaper option. You will save more money on the back end. But also I look at his field of play. He got thrown in the fire in a very tough, section of the schedule. And with the teams that we had to go up against, he went up against some very top of the line, top defensive end and edge rushers in the AFC. And for the most part, he held his own. But I feel like, with Wanye having a full off-season training and having the ability to train during OTAs and preseason as a starting left tackle, I think he will have the opportunity to be good. So to me, going with the tackle in the second round, I think that just added more as a swing tackle guy, but also, he can be in as a swing guard as well. And so it's more of the best lineman available that can be in that position going because Brett Veach and Andy Reid like versatile guys that could go inside and outside, either left or right. So I think that to me, he had an option of getting a guard that could also be center or getting a tackle who can also play guard. So I was like, let's just go with the tackle who can play guard.
I see that. Lonnie, do you have any opinions on what the Chiefs should be considering for their left tackle for this coming season?
Yeah, so they should be considering a solidified left tackle, whoever it is, not a new one every year. I don't know what they do or how they figure this out, but the Chiefs have to stop this at this position. So I hope they go with Wanye Morris. I think Andy Reid loves Wanye Morris. I don't know if they take a tackle that early. But I mean, I could see them doing something like that as well. I don't really see it being a position that is just blaring with like, oh, this guy's just horrible. He's not going to be able to make it at his position. I see this being a position where Andy Reid was satisfied with the rookie that stepped in, was satisfied enough to when Donovan Smith went down to not go out and pick any guys up or try and trade for a guy or anything like that, to just actually give this guy some time to play and let him develop. So if they do bring someone in, it may be a rookie, but I think it'll be to compete for the position and maybe sit. But I don't think it's somebody coming in to kind of like get the position from Wanye Morris or kind of like show him the ropes, because he went through that last year with Donovan Smith. So I think if they go tackle, like you said, it'll be like a swing tackle or a guard. Because we had some problem, like you said, we pick up tackles before, like Dennis Kennard, change them over to guards. So we've seen that before. So if they do that, I think it'll be a swing guard. But I just don't like how the Chiefs have handled the left tackle position overall as a franchise. With the great quarterback that they have, that type of stuff can end a guy's career. So like I think they need to find a home for a left tackle, and make it a home. So they can begin to understand their quarterback and they're not going through this every year.
I mean, I don't disagree with Lonnie is saying right now. Just because I mean it has been a revolving door, and if you look at the free agent market right now, everybody who is available is over 30 years old, and guess who the youngest on that list? Donovan Smith. So if you're going to go back and get somebody, you're probably going to want to go get him again just because he
Yep.
has a little bit more years, and then everybody else got a little bit more mileage as well too. So at this point, it's like stick with Wanye, and I think you go ahead and go into the draft and try to find someone who can at least compete. That way, it's competitive, and then we can find someone who can lock up that side. I do understand how we feel like we need to make sure. I can see blaming the organization for not trying to solidify that area due to having a franchise quarterback. But at the same time, you got to solidify all areas of the offensive line as well, too, because you're not as good as just one person on that line. I can understand that he's a blind side and everything like that, but a lot of these quarterbacks is mobile as well, too. And you got to think about it. We can always say that, the left side is always a person who's really the best and really the strongest. Well, these defensive ends nowadays are going to the weakest person on the offensive line. So if you're going to be somebody I can bully, I'm going to you and I'm bullying you all game. And I don't care if it's in the quarterback face, because if I can get back there and pressure him and get him off his game, then I'm doing my job like I'm supposed to. So really, I think they did a great job, because that interior line in the Super Bowl against Tampa was God Lee. They had to go ahead and just be like, yeah, Creed Humphrey. Okay, let's go ahead and pay Joe Tooney. Which Joe Tooney, if he wanted to, he can go play left tackle as well. We can talk about that another day. And then also you got Trey Smith, who's arguably going to be the highest paid lineman next offseason when he becomes a free agent. So really, I think it's important just to go ahead. I wouldn't mind them doing it in the first round if they wanted to. If you felt like you needed to trade up, because like you said, and how we talked about earlier, like, do we feel the need to go get wide receiver? Or do you feel like whoever the best available, go ahead and go get them? Yeah, I'm leaning towards that area. Like, we can really do whatever we want. I feel.
Right.
I mean, being Super Bowl champions, really locking up that defense as well too. We got the best quarterback still. You found your wide receiver in free agency, and a lot of people think like you can really chill off a little bit, and really, if you want to wait to the second and third round, you can do that. So I feel like whatever is available at that point, and if tackle's there, do it.
So I think the thing that kind of rounds out this conversation, to hark back to Lonnie, you wanting the Chiefs to have that franchise left tackle. I think that's what Orlando Brown was supposed to be, but he wasn't good enough, so he didn't stick. So the Chiefs are trying to find that same guy again. So whether or not we think Wanye Morris can be the day one starter is up for debate, because if history goes to repeat itself, last year, the Chiefs selected Wanye Morris in the third round, and then after the draft was over, proceeded to sign Donovan Smith to a 1-year contract and basically proclaiming him to be the outright starter going forward. And that's how the season transpired. Donovan gets injured for a little bit. Wanye makes the start. He looks promising, but struggles in other cases. And then Donovan comes back and fights through his injury. So the best offensive tackle in the free agency market is the same one the Chiefs were able to pick up after the draft was over last season. So I don't think the Chiefs go into this draft having the exact same plan as last year, because I don't think they thought Wanye Morris was going to be the selection. I think they maybe targeted a couple other guys who they deemed ahead of them that could have started. And then when none of those came through, they picked Wanye Morris and said, just be a straight up backup this whole season. And I think if you don't see a tackle selected within the first round or very early second, then I think you're just asking to repeat the same process. And we might be just looking at a repeat of history. Donovan Smith getting signed late, coming back to be the ipso facto starter, unless Wanye Morris fully proved himself, or whatever rookie they invested a day 2 pick in shows promise. But I think the Chiefs, unfortunately, are not in a position, at least draft possession wise, ever again, to be in a spot to take like the best tackle of all offensive tackles in a draft. So that's something to consider. Rod, did you have something before we transition off?
Also, I had a couple of points. You know, when Wanye was playing, he was, to me, I think he was playing good enough until he got hurt. That really pressed for Donovan Smith to get back on the field. I think if he would have stayed and didn't have that injury, I think it would have been a real good question on, Donovan Smith keeping that position. And also, do the Chiefs really have much need in this coming to this draft? I say try to trade up as far as you can to get a tackle and wait until the second round to get a wide receiver, and that be your draft. Like, what other positions do you really need?
Trying to have a Ricky Williams situation. We only need 2 positions. Take those 2 players and back out. But unfortunately, that's not how a team is built. There's several selections, and Brett Veach covets draft choices and having that flexibility. But he's not one to just sit in one spot. If a deal is to be done, he certainly will take it. That's for sure. So moving on to our third topic. Rod, in your mock draft, you ended up selecting a cornerback, and you specifically mentioned the L'Jarius Sneed trade in question. Obviously, we don't know to who or when, but it was your assumption that L'Jarius would not be on the team going forward, and I know that somebody on this podcast will have a rebuttal to that opinion. But what do you have to say about the Chiefs potentially looking at cornerbacks who play that similar style to L'Jarius?
L'Jarius Sneed he's a great player. Of course, he was a 4th round guy out of a small school, and he was originally a safety, and they moved him down the corner due to an injury, and he was just a lockdown ever since then. And he's a locked on gone. He's gone. Pending the contract, he's gone. And I think, with the whole situation of the whole trade is only being, hindered due to the contract for L'Jarius Sneed. And to me, I really think he's playing the role of reverse psychology. Well, now he had no problem playing on the franchise tag with the Chiefs, but now when it's come down to like, hey, the trade is done. They want to sign you to a contract. They probably came at him with, hey, we can give since you want a $20 million deal, we can give you 3 years, 60 million is, and nah, I want to reset the whole cornerback market now. Other than that, then I'm gonna just stay here on this franchise tag. So it's pretty much playing a reverse psychology on the whole thing. But I feel like at the end of the day, after he gets his emotions out, L'Jarius Sneed is gone, and he probably most likely will get a extended contract, but he's most likely gone.
All right, Lonnie, go ahead. Have your hot take.
Yeah, I don't share those same sentiments. I don't think he's gone. Like I said, the longer this goes on, the more likely I think that he stays. I think there's so many unknown factors when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed. So many things that we don't know going into this situation. I feel like that's what's been the holdup here. Just hearing some of the rumors that are coming out, this big old rumor mill that has been going on for about the last 3 weeks now, just over around him, more rumors that have circulated about him in his career than he's ever had. And this is not the type of player that he is. So hearing some of the things about his medical and just different things like that are concerning. And hearing that people have went away from certain avenues that they may have been pursuing with L'Jarius Sneed and not willing to give out that conversation also just laments the fact that some of those things that we are hearing is true. So I just don't think this happens in general. They may grab some guys to pair in there with him, or may try and grab someone for this, like a writing on the wall guy, kind of like preparing him to leave out the door. But they have some guys in-house like Nick Jones, Shamari Connors, some guys that kind of played that similar position that him and Trent McDuffie both played in the slot safety, like slot corner blitzer type role that he plays, this rover type role that you play within the Steve Spagnuolo defense. You really play all positions being a defensive back with Steve Spagnuolo, like we know. But I just don't see it happening. Like I said, I think the more time we lose on this situation, the more stuff that comes out around the situation, it starts to sound as if the Chiefs are just going to stick with their guy because I don't think the rest of the league is trusting the situation.
But I ain't gonna lie, it's just worrying me hearing like a lot of people are saying like he really don't want to play on that tag. It's like either you gonna get this deal done with us or you gonna get this deal done with somebody else at this point. And if we're not willing to pay that money, he might be going somewhere. I don't know what's holding it up. Like he got to be trying to get 22. I'm sorry. I know we keep on speculating, but if you're trying to reset the market, you're trying to get over that 21 and a half, like Jair, right? And even we was talking to our buddy earlier about it, and he was saying like they're trying to restructure that. They really don't want to give him 21 and a half, and that could be what owners or GMs are saying, like we don't want to give up that type of money because it's just not sustainable for y'all. And to be honest, I feel like cornerback is the toughest position to play in the NFL. And they're the most vulnerable at times because you're going against guys who are the fastest in the world. And like I always like to say, you're playing from behind, like you're playing backwards. And eventually you lose your legs as well, too. Because honestly, Jalen Ramsey is not that great anymore. He's good still. Top, still one of the top cornerbacks. But you're just, nobody fears going up against him, like, just because the offensive coordinator and the offense in general feel like they're going to cook something up that you can't stop. And this is an offensive driven league. And right now, L'Jarius Sneed, I mean, he is this physical type of cornerback that I don't think you can replace as well, too. So I really do want them to try to figure it out because nobody did Tyreek like he did him. I'm sorry. Nobody did Tyreek. Like for real, nobody did Tyreek. He got bullied. I don't care what I saw here. Eli Apple had that little stuff that he did against them, whatever. Bengals did pretty solid, but really he cooked them as well too a couple times. Like he just known for doing that. But just seeing that in both games in Germany and then in the playoffs is like, you did this against Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen. I can keep going. Is that guy in that mock draft, is he going to be able to do that?
That's a fair question.
Mm.
It with history, the Chiefs have constantly taken these day 3 physical corners. 4th round to 6th round has been Brett Veach's just home run zone for these prospects. And Dale, like you said, Chiefs fans are all familiar with when it comes to cornerback play being very volatile. 1 week being really good, and another week just not doing so well. Hyped up the Tyreek Hill matchup and maybe push away the Brandon Ayuk matchup during the Super Bowl. So your best footage and your worst footage. It's about what you do in the middle ground. So, we can speculate, and obviously the round table idea is we want Sneed to be back long term. But if the certain numbers that he's pushing are out there, then I think we have to accept that these project players are going to continue to get picked because we've seen it pan out for the Chiefs already with Sneed. So why not roll the dice and try again? So
Yeah, and I just wonder if we in a situation. I'm sorry, I just want to say this really quick. I just wonder if we're in a situation here where we get a Chris Jones deal. So
So 1 year.
The 1 year we just figure it out here at the last second when the shot clock's expiring.
right.
So I wouldn't be surprised, and I've been saying that on the record, but just because guys usually don't want to play on the tag, but
if you're Sneed, what is the incentive there? Because the franchise tag is a top 5 salary for a cornerback, and the problem is that most teams were quoting him under the $20 million. So if you're Sneed and you at least want 20, why would you shun your nose at guaranteed just under 20? That it doesn't make financial sense. So
Like a little 0.2, literally 0.2 under.
Right. So there's got to be some other political incentive behind this that is unclear to just us in the kingdom as fans. So we'll be on the edge of our seat because that's been a day-to-day process trying to follow along with what's the latest scoop. Is he in? Is he out? Who's interested? What are they willing to trade us for it? I think at this point we just kind of sit around with Sneed and wait for the draft to actually come up for things to really meet up with
That's when we get our answer.
Yep. So that brings us to the final topic of the evening. So we're talking about defensive now, and obviously we brought back Drew Tranquil, and we saw Willie Gay depart for New Orleans. So obviously the linebacker room doesn't have as many bodies as it did last year. So safe to assume that Brett Veach will accumulate some bodies for that position, whether or not it's from the available free agents in the veterans, or the end up using some draft capital as Rod's mock draft has, most likely at the end of the draft, as more of these backups and special teams players. But I earlier had brought up the counter argument: what if there was a really good linebacker, one of the best in the class, that is a starter? Would the Chiefs be shying away from making that selection? But Rod, obviously you've got the idea that the linebacker is nearly, the linebacking position's in pretty good shape, and you just want the bottom of the roster filled out. Safe to say?
Yeah, I was looking into that. Also, just adding more speed on the back end of that linebacker room. We actually saw a little bit of Jack Cochran play as well. He showed that he could play real good in the run game. And showed that intermediate zone coverage. Of course, we all know about Leo Chenal, who's coming to his own and being a more versatile player in the run game and being that also, dibbling himself into being that, speed edge rusher coming off the edge as well, more of like a Michael Parsons role. But to me, I think the reason why I feel like Veach might go more into the draft instead of getting a veteran because how difficult it is to learn that defense. They hit on Drew Tranquil due to the fact that he is very cerebral and he is very smart, quick thinking. He understands all sorts of coverages that allows him to move quicker. So it was easy, especially when Nick Bolton went down. It was easy for him to understand what's going on because Drew used to be a deep cover guy, the deep cover linebacker. So he understood the different ways of coverages. So it really wasn't that much of a transition for him. But there's not that many Drew Tranquils in the free agent market. There's more of a guys that's like a Nick Bolton, that Mike linebacker, possibly that Sam linebacker who's coming downhill to tackle. But if we're looking for a pure cover guy who can sit back and really understand route concepts and what's going on in front of him, but also being able to come downhill and get off the block and make tackles, that is very, very hard to find. And I think they might look into the draft to get someone in the draft who can also, play on special teams as well and add more speed on special teams.
I see that, Dale.
Yeah, and looking at like the free agents in this class for linebackers as well too, they old as well. Like Veach he's gonna look at it like, nah, I can't do this. Let me just go ahead and go in the draft. And I don't blame him as well because you might as well go ahead and get some youth, get some speed. Who knows? You might find another golden guy in one of the later parts of the draft that can come in and just be able to fit because we all know Drew Tranquil is going to be a starter anyway, and we know Leo Chanel is the other guy who has been getting the upper echelon of the reps with all of them anyway. So we got our core guys that we actually want to be out there. And then Rod already alluded to it. You had Jack Cochran who had some good reps. We had Cam Jones as well too, who looked pretty good. So it's like we have the youth and guys who can actually come out there and be able to be able and go out there and compete. But we need y'all to be able to cover as well too, and I think you're gonna find that in this draft. But yeah, we need some athleticism because that's what we are honestly probably going to miss a little bit more with Willie Gay being going. He was just that guy when healthy. He's just able to fly around the room. We saw that interception that he got against Russ Wilson and the Broncos. Only not too many people can do that. Willie Gay did that. Haven't seen Drew Tranquil do that at all, but he's an IQ guy. He can really play the position. But that's just some things that you're missing. And they might be like, you know what, let's go ahead and let's try to see if we can find that and fill that up in this upcoming draft. And they can do that in the later part of the draft. That much need of not that much of a need. We got it already filled up, like we said. So it's like one of those fill up the roster, fill out the bottom half of the roster, get some guys out there to be able to compete in camp. So that's it.
So to piggyback off that, you mentioned Leo Chanel. So he's their most recent linebacker selection besides the undrafted that started coming in. But he was a third round selection. And then, before that, Nick Bolton was a second rounder. Willie Gay was a second rounder. And at the time, much of the kingdom was questioning why you'd use second round pick at linebacker. And then you saw the results. So my thinking is if Brett Veach sees a value or he deems some additional linebackers as a need or filling a position a year or two down the road, like Brett Veach tends to make his draft selections, we may see another day 2 linebacker selection instead of the couple of selections towards the end of the draft, like Rod's mock draft ended up playing out. So that's my thought.
Yeah, and I feel like I'll share the same sentiment as Dale. I think the room is kind of full. You don't really need, if you're adding a guy, it's a filler guy to play special teams or somebody to kind of just add depth there. I see Steve Spagnuolo and them sticking with some guys already in that room to the likes of the guys named Cam Jones. It's a guy that was very, very highly coveted coming into training camp, coming out of training camp, undrafted guy that they got and bring in. It was kind of the writing on the wall, I think, for Willie Gay. Once we seen a guy like that, super cheap, way cheaper, still has the same athleticism, won't have to play immediately off the bat, kind of can be ingratiated into the game. I'd see that being the route that they go. And anybody else that comes in will kind of be behind those guys. I'm not sure if Cochran is still around, but I'm gonna know they still have Cochran too. So they have a couple linebackers in there that I feel like are going to be light years ahead of whoever they bring in, unless you're just like a super duper anomaly guy that should have been picked in like the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Right. I feel you. Rod, you got any other points you want to say about the linebacking position for the Chiefs?
To me, I think they still want to stick with their formula with the defensive overall, just trying to get with the younger athletic guys. Like Dale said, when you look at the free agent market, these guys are old, and you really don't want to sit here and tie up your cap on picking a guy that is he really going to be a starting guy? That's what you really pay. You pay if you're going to pay for a guy off of the free agent market. You telling them that hey, he's going to beat out Nick Bolton or Drew Tranquil. If you know that's not going to happen.
Thank you all for joining us for this edition. Obviously, it was a wild ride about it. So if you enjoyed it and you want to read more, make sure to check out Rod's article. But stay tuned because we got something coming right after this when we get to that breaking news episode. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. As always, go Chiefs.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom